Okay, you guys, what is up? The King of Lightning is going to do Fairy Tail Chapter 276. The way this week is going to go is that there will be no synopsis, just a review. So far, I've gotten mixed feedback on this. I'm going to wait for a little while longer in order to make my final decision. However, that being said, what I'm going to do is that there's going to be a few key points. And then there's going to be my overall thoughts on the chapter itself. Now, the first key point of this chapter is the race itself, Chariot. Now, the Chariot Race, which is basically, it's the same setting as the first magical game where it's in a city. However, in that city is like a giant it's kind of like a giant rail system of carts that are chained together and that are continuously moving throughout the city. There is a starting point and then there's an ending point. Whoever reaches the ending point first gets the full 10 points, second place gets 8 points, and then so on and so forth. Now, the members of each of the guilds that are taking place within this game are Fairy Tail has Gajeel and Natsu. There's Sting from Sabretooth. There is Yuka from Lamia Scale. Ichia from Blue Pegasus, Bacchus from Quattro Cerberus, this person named Kurohebi from Raventail, and then this random person from, I don't know her name, this individual from Mermaid Heel. That being said, in the course of this chapter, well, that's the first key point. The second key point is Bacchus. Bacchus in this chapter, he is impressive. Why? Because what he's doing is, it appears to be without magic. During the race, Kurohebi's in first place, and then Ichia, Yuka, and the girl from Mermaid Heel are contending for second place. Bacchus is behind them, and what he does is that he decides to actually go all out. He stomps on one of the rail carts, and then the rail carts in front of that cart come flying up because of the force of his stomp. And then Ichia, Yuka, and the girl from Mermaid Heel, they get thrown off balance, and then Bacchus blitzes ahead of them. He blitzes ahead of Kurohebi and then takes the win. And there was a really funny scene where he slides in. He's like, yeah, slides in. And then the guildmaster of Quattro Cerberus, he looks like he just came out of a Kiss concert. He comes out, and then he's like, wild. And then and that was really funny. That was really funny. I was like, yo. And but what I want to say is that Bacchus to me is very unique so far within the story because he is different from the rest of the mages of Fairy Tail and the rest of the mages from other guilds. He can rely on physical strength alone and get the job done. He can rely on his Chinese Kempo and get the job done. And that to me is a huge plus factor. Though I will say that maybe his magic may have something to do with his physical strength. Maybe he has a magical seal somewhere on his body where it can enhance his physical strength. Maybe, I'm not too sure. But the Chinese Kempo does seem legitimate. It does seem like something that magic cannot give him. It's something that has to be taught and learned and mastered. So, Bacchus to me, he's very good. He makes Quattro Cerberus so relevant, it's not even funny. As of right now, the only irrelevant guild that's in this tournament is Mermaid Heel. Mermaid Heel, to me, they're like whatever. However, the leader of Mermaid Heel, who kind of looks like Ultier, with the black hair, she may be important later on as these games progress. But as of right now, Mermaid Heel, screw him, doesn't really matter. Bacchus has Quattro Cerberus, and Quattro Cerberus has Bacchus, and Bacchus is a beast. It's that simple. Bacchus is a beast. This guy is nasty. Chinese Kempo, physical strength for the win. The next key point I want to bring up is that in this chapter of Fairy Tail, we see that all the three Dragon Slayers are struggling behind, no, they're straggling behind. Natsu, Gajeel, and Sting, they're all suffering from motion sickness, and this to me is key because Sting tells Gajeel, well then, you finally got accustomed to being a real Dragon Slayer. Now, this to me is like, okay, that means that up until this arc, Gajeel was never a real dragon slayer. So, the thing is, this is really weird because it's like, as far as we've known, Gajeel was a full-blown dragon slayer. But because he's never suffered from motion sickness up until this point, it's like, I guess not. And I guess one of the reasons could be because Natsu is stronger than Gajeel. And in my opinion, Natsu has always been stronger than Gajeel for a majority of the series thus far. So what I'm going to say is that it's either A, because Gajeel has reached a certain level of Dragon Slayer magic. He's reached a certain level, and once you cross that level, once you start, once you proceed over that boundary of being a true Dragon Slayer, then I guess that's when you start suffering from the magic. That's when you start suffering from the motion sickness. I mean, because ultimately, the way I see it is that Gajeel, during the Tenro Island arc, he barely beat like two of these like random guys. He barely beat a chicken and some weird dog sword dude. Whereas Natsu was able to take down one of the 7 sins of purgatory. What we also see is that Natsu is accustomed throughout the entire series of Fairy Tail. We see that Natsu is accustomed to eating many types of magic. We see him eating the God Slayer flames. We see him eating the lightning of Luxus. We see him eating the Aterion. We see him eating the yellow sacred flame that Jalal gave him. So maybe Gajeel can now do the same thing. Maybe Gajeel can now start eating different types of magic. He might start eating, I mean, like, I don't know, like, maybe though. I'm trying to think here, like, maybe he could eat some kind of weird magic, like some light magic. I have no idea. But what I'm trying to say here is that we have never seen Gajeel able to do the things that Natsu can. It also appears to me that Natsu was able to reach these vast reservoirs of magic. When he was in a tight situation, he could muster out like a lot of magic. Gajeel never really could do that kind of stuff. I mean, ultimately speaking, Natsu, again, he was stronger than Gajeel for a majority of the series. Now we have no idea, but it appears to me that there's a certain level of Dragon Slayer magic that has to be acquired in order for you to be considered a true Dragon Slayer and for you to suffer from motion sickness. That's the way I think it is. And I think that Gajeel has now crossed that plateau. Maybe. I could be talking out of my ass. Maybe. And the last key point is the Natsu speech, the guild, Madoshi, We've all heard it before. It's the same stuff. There's no reason for me to go over it. It's the same fairy tale. Like, we are a guild, we are friends, we're gonna push forward for the guild, etc., yada yada, whatever. Same crap. But that being said, the Dragon Slayer part and the Bacchus part, those two key points, in my opinion, those are the best points. But ultimately speaking, this chapter, in my opinion, it was okay. The Bacchus thing was really, really funny. That was to die for. That was to die for funny. Like that was like a funny or die moment right there. Funny or die. Also, the whole entire Dragon Slayer thing, it's very interesting. It's very unique. I will say that this rule of motion sickness does not apply to God Slayers. The reason being is because we see Zonkro and Zonkro was he was on the Gilmore Hart flying ship, and he was just there. He was moving around. He was completely fine, and that is a flying, moving vehicle. So motion sickness does not apply to God Slayers thus far. That being said, this chapter of Fairy Tail, in my opinion, it was okay. So I'll see you guys later. King of Lightning, rate, comment, subscribe. Signing off. Peace.